Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon and today I'm back with a slightly belated, to be fair, September book haul. So some of the books that I was sent by publishers, a gift and some books that I bought myself, including some books that I bought myself last month and forgot to include in, well, not last month because September was last month, but the month before last, August, because I've got to include them in that video because I'm an absolutely naughty sausage. So let us get cracking, and as usual I'm going to start with the books that I've shown on the channel before, but they might have been approved, they could have been a hardback last time, or maybe there's a new edition of them. The first of those is Eliza Clark's She's Always Hungry, which is a short story collection I am very excited about, and I think this is giving real Oscore. I mean, could that be Elphaba's hand in Glinda's bathroom? It could. Let's be honest, it could. It might not be in the book, but in my head currently is. I have not read any Eliza Clark yet, but I have all her books on my shelves, well, her previous two to this. I wanted to read Boy Parts quite recently, and I do feel like I want to read her work in order. So maybe this autumn I can have a bit of an Eliza binge. We shall see, but very excited for this. I know she's coming to West Kirby Bookshop at some point. I don't know if it's this month or next month. Oh, Earl's come in, so he might want to join in with the book chat. Then I have several books that came in a bumper parcel from the lovely folk at Penguin, and these are the latest two Claire Fuller books plus her previous three that have all got new covers. And I was going to do a Instagram reel saying how these were giving absolute brat summer vibes. However, summer's over, and are we saying that the new Brat remix album is giving Brat Autumn? I'm not sure, but anyway, I'll show you what these all are in case you have not, in case you've not seen these lovely editions but also haven't read any Claire Fuller yet. I've read one. It wasn't the first of hers, which is Our Endless Numbered Days, which I know from seeing this raved about from when it came out, really, all over BookTube, is kind of a dystopian novel. So yeah, very excited about that. Sorry, Earl's making a move to go upstairs, which is Mildred's domain and could cause absolute pandemonium. Then we have Swimming Lessons, which is her second novel, and I am loving how they've done these. I really like this really bold font and all the covers that they've chosen for the, no, all the pictures they've chosen for the cover, not the covers they've chosen for the covers, but the pictures. They are all really, really lovely. And I think this is about a woman who goes missing at sea, and so it's kind of got a mystery vibe to it, which I am here for. Then we have Bitter Orange, and I'm not quite sure what this one's about, but I do know from, well, I've heard a rumour that there are savages in this book spelt my way, which is quite a rare thing, so I'm intrigued for that one for that alone. And I have read Unsettled Ground, which is about siblings whose mother died and they're left with this old crumbly house, and it looks at what it's like to be poor in rural areas, but also when your life sort of hasn't really got going. And yeah, it's got a, I'm not going to say any more than that actually, but this was up for the Women's Prize and read it when it was longest for that and really, really, really thought it was fab. And then we have The Memory of Animals, which I think is meant to be a bit dystopic again and possibly to do with animals. So yeah, I want to get to all the Fuller books that I haven't read yet. It could be a winter full of Fuller. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, okay, let's all move on. Then we have a finished copy of The Trunk by Kim Ryong, and this is translated by The Collab, which I'm really intrigued by. I need to look that up. I keep saying one and I never do. But I believe this is about women who are contracted to be men's wives and something goes wrong. It's going to be a series on Netflix. I'm excited. We also have, or I also have, a finished copy of Hum by Helen Phillips. Helen Phillips is another author. There are several of them on my shelves where I have collected lots of their books because I feel like they're going to be an absolute favourite, but still haven't got around to any of them. Or did I read one of Helen Phillips' books? I feel like maybe I did. Did I read? None of those sound like I did. Anyway, I will. I love the foiling on this. I don't know what it's about. I have seen that Amerie has done it for her book club, and I will link Amerie's channel down below. Although, Amerie, if you see this, I would love you to start doing wrap-ups and hauls again and just random little videos here and there. I don't want to be a demanding viewer, but I am being a demanding viewer. So Anyway, if Amerie has chosen a book for book club, it makes me want to read it, even if I don't actually get to it in time for book club, which is invariably the case, and I'm very sorry about that. However, one I'm very, very keen for, and I don't know actually if I'm going to break my rule of saying I want to read an author's work in order, and maybe actually I should go, well, in order from first to last. Maybe sometimes it's good to pick an author's last and go backwards. So I've heard really good things about The Need, and apparently that really creeped people out, and I do think her books are meant to be quite otherly and unsettling, and that's the sort of thing that I'm down for, not just for Halloween, but like all year round really. I don't get to it enough though. I need to have a look at why I'm not heading to certain books that I would normally. Then we have a finished copy of Bella Mackie's What a Way to Go, which has been delightfully signed, as I hosted Bella Mackie last week in Liverpool, which was a real treat. I think she's just fab to talk to, and I really enjoyed How to Kill Your Family. I think this is even better. It's about the Whiston family, and Anthony Whiston dies in a really odd way on his 60th, and then more lies are told post that by the family once the police arrive, and there's a question around whether it might be murder, and I will talk to you more about all of that when I do my... I read this in October actually, I was going to say September wrap up, which will be coming soon. Again, belated, very sorry. But yeah, I will talk about this at some point. Now, I did just want to mention actually, because I had a couple of not the nicest comments recently saying that when I talk about authors I'm going to interview, they feel like I'm name dropping and what had happened to the genuine man who started this channel years ago. And it's really tricky because if I'm doing an event with an author, one, I want to tell you about it because I'm excited. Two, there might be the smallest chance that you might want to come to one. And also, like, that is my job in my life. So, like, it's not me being name dropping, I don't think. It's just, like, adding context. But also, as I will do with a book later, if I've got any links to it or I happen to know the person who's written the book, I think that's best practice to sort of say that. What are your thoughts? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be really, really interested. Like, the comments didn't upset me massively, but any comment that's a bit can be a bit of a that's the technical term. Anyway, those are all the books that I've shown you before. Then I have something that I think has only happened rarely with hauls. I have both the proof that I was sent of a book, which is The Scapegoat by Lucy Hughes Hallett, and also the finished copy arrived in the same month. And I love this cover. This is all about the brilliant brief life of the Duke of Buckingham, who was the lover and advisor to James I. And if you've seen George and Mary that was on Sky, that was who this was about. But that was based on a different non-fiction book about George Villiers. So yeah, I'm really keen to get to this. I've meant to read Lucy Hughes Hallett before. I have a collection of her short stories which I think are based around myths, but set like in different time periods and stuff, so I'm very keen to get to that, but also really keen to get to this partly because my brain is already heading to the Women's Non-Fiction Prize for next year, for which this will be eligible. We will talk a little bit more about Women's Prize things in a bit, but also there's a special, well, I say special, but a chatty video about a new Women's Prize project that Mum and I, or maybe one or other of us, but Mum and I are going to be working on, which I'm very excited about. Now, on to other books that I haven't shown you before, but I just have one copy of these ones. The first of which I am super duper excited about is the debut novel from Sean Hewitt. It's called Open Heaven. It won't look like this when it's in the shops. It won't look like that when it's in the shops. I have no idea what this is about. I am not wanting to know too much because when there are books by writers who I've read before and I'm super duper excited about whatever they write next, in this case I've absolutely loved Sean's poetry. I still haven't read his non-fiction actually, and I really, really need to do that. But yeah, this is out in April and I just can't wait. And I have mentioned on the channel quite a few times, I love it when poets write novels. They tend to be some of my favourites. So I've got hi, Oscar. Yeah, I've got high hopes for this one. So very, very excited for it. It's one of my most anticipated books for next year, as is The City Changes Its Face by Emma McBride. Again, don't know anything about this. I'm going to head to this quite soon as I'm going to be hosting a showcase for Faber up here in up north, and very, very, very excited for that. And Emma is going to be one of the authors that we'll be talking about. I'll also be talking to Natasha Brown about her follow-up to Assembly, and who else? I think Sarah Hall and a couple of others. So yeah, very excited to get to this at some point. Then we have a book that I did not know was coming out this year until very recently, and then I sent an email to the publisher begging for a copy because I love this author's last book so much. This is Yvonne Battle-Felton's Curdle Creek. It sounds like it's going to be creepy because on the back it says, "Welcome to Curdle Creek. We're dying to make you feel at home." If I get a blurb on, well, when I get a blurb on a book, I'll read like that much of it and then I ignore all of that because I just don't want to know if it's an author that I'm super duper excited about. If I've not heard about the author before or not heard about the book before, obviously I might have a little read of the blurb and then try to forget it or see if it sort of percolates in my brain for a bit. Anyway, moving on. Remembered by Yvonne Battle-Felton was one of my absolute favourite books the year it came out. That was also longlisted for the Women's Prize, and I'm so gutted it didn't get shortlisted and went. Although who won that year? Let's not go down that line of thinking because I'll confuse myself and I will not come back from that tangent possibly ever. Really excited for this. It's going to be creepy deepy, spooky dooky, creepy something, and I'm here for it. Creepy Creek, that's what it'll be. Creepy Curdle Creek, and yeah, very excited for that. As I am Curandera by Erenison Akoji. This came out in June, but when I was asking for a copy of this, I was like, oh, could I cheekily also get this one? And I'm thrilled I have this because it's not an event that I'm hosting, but I'm going to be at Storyhouse for the whole of Sunday, the 10th of November, because it's going to be Women's Prize Day, which I'm super duper excited about. It's something that I've been working on for about a year now with the Women's Prize and Storyhouse, where I am their associate literary curator, and we've come together, and it's also going to be the launch for the inaugural Women's Prize Book Club, which me and Mum are hosting. And the books for that, I was going to say you won't hear me talk about until the next haul, but you will, because me and Mum are going to do a video talking about the first book club picks and how it's all going to work, and probably talk about how ridiculously excited we are and we can't quite believe it. Anyway, Erenison will be talking with Louise Minchin about do we still need a Women's Prize as a panel event as part of that day. So yeah, very, very excited for that one. And I'll be talking about Louise Minchin in a bit. Then we have the new Anne Tyler, which has like a wedding invitation on the cover. You're invited to the wedding of Debbie and Kenneth. And this is out in February, and the cover won't look like any of this. I have read and really, really enjoyed Anne Tyler quite a few times, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. She's an author that I collect all of her books if I see them, generally like in charity shops and stuff. I'm assuming this is going to be about a wedding that maybe doesn't happen or something goes awry. That's my guess. Haven't read the blurb, not going to. But as I was saying, Anne Tyler is an author who I've collected a lot of their backlist and would at some point like to read everything by them because I do really, really like her writing. Then we have a book that came as a bit of a joke, but it's very apt. This was sent to me by the lovely folk at Harpervere, and it's How to Train Your Human, A Cat's Guide by Babas, translated by Catherine Gregor. And they sent it me because they had seen I am now I always said I wasn't going to be someone who referred to their cats as their children or like was a cat dad, but I am very much a cat dad, especially now that I have 4. So yeah, they sent me this and I thought that was a nice little bit of fun, and also actually maybe a lovely gift for somebody for, and I think I'm allowed to say this word now because it is October, so I think legally it's okay, Christmas. So we have that one. Then we have a book that I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I didn't know this was a subliminal message from the publisher, but also I just wasn't sure. Like, I think I want to read this author because every book I've seen of theirs that's kind of crossed my path and I've read the blurb, been like, oh, I'm intrigued by it, but also found them big brain energy and a little bit scary. This is Dear Dickhead by, I think it's Virginie, I want to say. Yeah, Virginie Spentes, and it's translated by French from Frank Witten. And the cover caught my attention. The title, like I said, I wasn't sure if the publisher were sending me this for a reason. But then I read the blurb, well, not the blurb, because I don't read blurbs, but then I read like a little sort of snippet, and it said, "Dear dickhead, I read the piece you posted on Insta. You're like a pigeon shitting on my shoulder as you flat past. It's shitty and unpleasant. Wah, wah, wah. I'm a pissy little panty waist. No one loves me, so I whimper like a chihuahua in the hope someone will notice me. Congratulations. You've had your 15 minutes of fame. You want proof? Here I am writing to you." That's made me really intrigued for this. So at some point when I do my try a chapter videos that I'm going to be doing over on Patreon, where I get through the pile of possibility. I say pile, I can see 3 of them, books that I'm not sure whether I want to read or not, have been sent unsolicited, etc. Yeah, this is going to be one that I try for that, but I thought I'd share it because I don't share the books that come in and end up on the pile of possibility, just because otherwise I'd be talking in these videos for hours and hours, and I talk for long enough, frankly. Then we have a proof edition, and a finished copy has arrived since, but actually I ordered a finished copy of this because the independent bookshop edition with its sprayed edges or spreadges is so stunning. So I ordered one from Harris & Harris, and hopefully it'll be here soon. But what's the book? It's Kate Moss's The Map of Bones, which is the 4th and final book in the Joubert family chronicles, which I have absolutely loved. I definitely want to get to this autumn, because what I'm really hoping to do next year is read Labyrinth and then that trilogy as like a big project at some point. So I'm kind of thinking, would that be fun to do on here and like have a read along? I'm not sure how to make a read along work the best on YouTube. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments down below, because we've sort of done it, me and Mum, with the Booker Prize and our parallel reads of the shortlist. But yeah, I kind of want something that's even maybe a little bit more interactive than that. But anyway, Kate Moss, new novel, very excited for it, thrilled it's here. And last but certainly not least, from publishers, well, the books that I've chosen to share with you on here is The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller. And I have enjoyed Andrew Miller's books before, and this one has winter in the title, so therefore I feel like I need to read it in winter. I don't know what it's about, that's all I've got to say. Yeah, we've got that one. Intrigued, excited, all those things. Now, before I mention a gift that I got this month, I'm going to mention the 2 books that I didn't mention in my August book haul, but I did get in August, when also I said I was going to try and read every book that I bought that month, but also every book going forward for the rest of the year. How is that going? I hear some of you ask, and am I still doing that? Many of the rest of you are asking, and to all of you I say thank you for that question, but no comment. The first we have is Let's Be Honest, and if I'm being honest, no, I'm not doing that. I have failed spectacularly in trying to read things as I buy them, but what I do want to do definitely, and I'm thinking ahead of when I can do it, probably next Monday, is once I've had this, I'm going through quite a busy period of book events at the moment because it's that time of year, but once I've got a breather from that, I really love the idea of going to a bookshop and just picking a book and reading that as my next book. Anyway, Let's Be Honest by Jess Phillips. This is Truth, Lies and Politics, and I'm a big fan of Jess Phillips anyway. I've had the pleasure of meeting her. She's lovely. That's not a Jane drop. It's not a name drop. It's just, well, me being honest. With what's happened politically in the UK this year, God, I think this is the perfect time to read this. I haven't worn a Camilla t-shirt yet, and I've got one, so I need to do that before this month is through. Anyway, the next book that I got in August that I didn't mention because I'd started reading it and it was upstairs, is Alan Buckingham's Allotment, Month by Month. Grow your own fruit and vegetables, know what to do when. Because I am now the proud owner of an allotment. I have been waiting since 2021, I want to say. Thrilled, delighted, very excited, and this I think is going to be perfect. And the lovely Cara at Books in My Bag recommended me this. She said it's been brilliant for her since she's got an allotment. So I took that advice and I got myself a copy. Now, the gift that I got the gift that I got back in September, book-wise, is one that is a family link, because this is a book written by my stepdad's brother. It's One Boy's Life and Times by Bob Perry, and this is from Novum Press, who do well, I hadn't heard about this before and I find it fascinating. So they publish, and I know the cover's not the best, and I've said that, I've been very honest about it, and Bob has said I don't have to read it, but I am intrigued because it's my stepdad's brother and I'm nosy. But I didn't know that this publisher publish memoirs from people all across Britain, and they then use them in other countries as a way to study what really happened in history from different perspectives. And this is lifting the lid on a baby boomer's memory box. And I think it's going to be really interesting, but also knowing Bob and his brother Tim, my stepdad, and their sense of humour, I think this will make me laugh, although I am also therefore prepared for dad jokes, because they are very good at those. So yeah, really, 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 well, thrilled for him. Anyone who spends the time to actually write a book, I always have like the utmost respect for, because I just think, you know, it's like, yeah. Anyway, moving on to books that I bought myself. And first I'm going to mention a book that I have shown you on the channel before because I got the proof. However, I could not resist picking up this independent bookshop edition when I was in Bridgenorth last month. And it's Rare Singles by Benjamin Myers. And look at the spreads on that. It's a seagull, it's the sky, it's just lovely. And again, foiling. And I don't know too much about this because Benjamin Myers is one of my favourite authors. I say that and I feel really bad actually because he is an author that is one of my favourites. But with some of my favourite authors, they have new books out and then I get nervous about them, so I don't read them. And I think I'm behind with Ben's books by like maybe 2 or 3, which is disgusting and shocking, and I should be ashamed of myself. And frankly, I am. Anyway, I think this is set in Scarborough. I know it's set in Scarborough. And I think it's about a musician who's kind of gone out of favour but is asked to come and perform in Scarborough by a woman, and I don't know if it's like some spark happens between them or something, but I'm intrigued for it. So I get Rare Singles being about music singles, but I think it's also about them being single, maybe. I don't know, haven't read it yet, but we'll be soon. Then on to other books that I haven't shown on here, but I have bought myself last month. The first of which, oh, that sounded a bit sticky, which isn't great. A book that I'd seen Jaylen recommend, and then Nathan recommend, having read it based on Jaylen's recommendations. I will link both of their channels down below. This is Cheap Therapist Says You're Insane by Parker Young, and apparently they're great, queer, quirky short stories. That's all I needed to know, well, alongside the fact that Jaylen loved them and Nathan loved them, so I got a copy. There it is. Then I picked this book up because I really like to read a book set where I go on holiday if I can. And I have not long got back, well, it was over a week ago. It feels actually like a lot longer than that. In fact, it's nearly 2 weeks ago I got back from Lanzarote, and it was really hard to find a book set in Lanzarote, but I did. And it's Mary Stewart's The Wind Off the Small Isles and The Lost One. So it's kind of a novella and a short story. I didn't actually read it while I was there, so I guess that just means that I have to go back at some point. Also, this seemed perfect because it had volcanoes on the cover, and for September's Savage reading prompt, which are prompts that lots of you sent for me and Mum to pick out of a jar. The jar's just there with the ones that we didn't pick, and we are thinking about doing it again next year, but we want to activate it a little bit more. So if there's any things that you would recommend or like to see we do with the prompts next year, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm asking you quite a lot of things. I'm asking you about name dropping, I'm asking you about that. That's all I've asked so far. I didn't get to this, but it just means I have to go to Lanzarote at another point. But Mary Stewart is an author I've always meant to read, so we have that. Then 2 books by the same author, the first of which I picked along with the Savage prompts theme, actually, after seeing it on Mercedes' channel. I'll link her channel down below. I'm sure you're already all following it. And this is 4x4 by Sarah Messer, and it is translated by Kate Whitmore. And this is meant to be a sort of literary thriller set in I think a kind of, I was going to say old university, but what I mean is like old as in it's been around for ages, and lots of weird things go on there. And the prompt for 2024 is like a bonus prompt, or if you can't do a prompt, you can use that instead, you can switch, is for a book with either the word to, TWO, in the title, or for, FOUR, in the title, because it's 2024, so the 2 and the 4 are from that. Anyway, I'm sure you don't know why I over-explained that. Moving on. This sounded really creepy, and then I was looking at other books by her, and Among the Hedges sounds even creepier. So this is about a young girl who's hiding in the hedges, and she's seen by this man, and they kind of have this tentative friendship, and then I think it goes a bit that. Yeah, I'm intrigued, very intrigued. It's rare that I say that, I've literally told you about how many times I've bought a whole stack of books by one author just because I think they're going to be a favourite. I picked up in Daunt Books in London, Medusa of the Roses by Navid Sinaki. I'd seen this on the internet and it sounded really interesting. It is a queer fiction set in Iran, and I'm really keen to read more about experiences of queer people outside of the UK and particularly sort of further afield, maybe more outside Europe even. And so yeah, this one is one that I want to get to. I've heard some incredible things about that. I mentioned Louise Minchin earlier because she's going to be at Women's Prize Day, and this I've read. It is a book set on a remote island where a group of celebrities are taking part in a new reality TV series where things start to go horribly wrong, including some of them getting killed. So there we are. I'll talk about that more in my September wrap-up because I did read that in September. I picked up Entitlement when I was at London Review Bookshop. Their new bookmarks are absolutely gorgeous. I really, really love them. This is a signed copy of Entitlement by Ruman Alam, if I didn't already say that. And I'm really, really keen to get to this. I really enjoyed Leave the World Behind. Me and Melanie did it for our book club a few years ago. And I know this is very different. It's set around privilege, power and money. But I think that's going to be quite an interesting book. I feel like it's going to have Succession vibes. I don't know why, but I just feel like it does. And that's what I think. And there we are. Then I got Want, which is basically women's fantasies submitted anonymously and then collected by Gillian Anderson. She has written her own fantasy and snuck it in somewhere here. I'm just really intrigued for this. I love Gillian Anderson and I think this is going to be really insightful. There was a pop-up for this at the Women's Prize Live back in June, and some of the fantasies that have been left in there were things like just a bit of peace and quiet and a cup of tea while I read my book, which I think is a fantasy many of us can completely and utterly understand. I would want it to be endless cup of fairly warm tea. I don't like it too hot, I don't like it lukewarm, really strong, a little bit of sugary, but somehow without there being any sugar or anything bad in it for you, and an endless supply of sugary yet sugar-free yet good for you biscuits. There's my fantasy that I've shared. There we are. Penultimately, Frankie by Graham Norton. I've really enjoyed the Graham Norton books that I read, particularly A Keeper. That still remains my favourite. I think this is going to be quite a quiet contemplative book. It's about a woman called Frankie, and it says you should be the main character in your own life, but Frankie never was. That makes me feel weirdly emotional. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to be a banger. And then last but not least, Stephen Fry's Odyssey, and I have to be really, really frank here. These two I bought in a supermarket, which I know is a little bit naughty, but hardback prices have gone ridiculous. Like 25 quid for this one, I think 22 for that. And I felt like Stephen Fry and Graham Norton are probably doing all right financially, so they wouldn't mind. But yeah, this, I don't know if it's an actual retelling of the Odyssey or whether it's like looking at the Odyssey, but either way, I'm intrigued. I mean, the irony around this will probably be that I might not actually get to these until they're both out in paperback, but hey ho, let's not beat ourselves up about buying books because, well, it's better when you buy them from independent bookshop, to be fair, but you know, you're helping with the sector and keeping publishing going, and that's never a bad thing. We shouldn't feel guilty for that. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope you're doing super duper well. If you've read any of these and loved them, please let me know in the comments down below. If you've read any of them and you've not loved them, hold fire on those thoughts. Tell me about them once I get to them, even if it might be when they're in paperback, because then I think fair game. What I really, really can't be doing with, and it's why I don't share what I'm currently reading on Instagram very often, is that there will be people, it's like a magnet to them, who want to tell you that they hated what you're reading, and that is such a buzz killer when you've just started a book or you're really, really hyped or excited for a book. I don't like to be hyped. I just like to be excited. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope you're all doing super duper well. I hope you're reading something lovely. If you'd like more savage stuff, then my Instagram, my artist formerly known as Twitter, my Patreon, my wishlist, all those things are down below. Plus there'll be details for the Women's Prize Day, Women's Prize Book Club, and all the channels that I've mentioned. And I will see you, deep breath, in another video very, very soon. Bye.